I am not a comedian or a verbal storyteller normally. I do prefer to paint. As an artist, I have a very serious and broody persona to keep up. So excuse the lack of humour that you might be getting from me tonight. As an artist, the most common question that I'm asked is, where do your ideas come from? And there is no simple answer to this question. I wish it was as simple as seeing a blank canvas and recreating whatever was in my head, but that is not the case. The closest thing that I can provide to an answer is the first law of thermodynamics, that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transferred. I have always been a very, very sensitive person. Most would say too sensitive. I see the world through a very saturated lens. Things are quite intense and magnified to me. Common social rituals seem very absurd. Day-to-day tasks are these monumental moments, and on any given day, I experience the whole spectrum of emotion multiple times over. It feels a bit like a constant state of entropy. I have all of this energy that I cannot funnel into productive work. And it's at these moments of maximum entropy that I found myself at my most creative. And the biggest point of this was about 4 years ago. I had just moved out of home, rarely ever paying my rent. If I did pay my rent, I'm not allowed to tell you the things I did to pay my rent. I had dropped out of university. I ate nothing but cheese toasties and coffee for 3 months. And I was indulging heavily in some dangerous activity. All of this in an effort to feel anything but the intense energy around me. And it's interesting coming after Wellborn story of this, living this lifestyle where I wanted nothing more than to feel nothing. And I went on these journeys and involved myself in these stupid activities that I didn't even enjoy for the express purpose of shutting that intense feeling down. Surprise, surprise, didn't work. Turns out, the more chaotic activities you involve yourself with, the more chaotic your life becomes. Well, hey, look. Call 20-year-old me and tell him that, because he had no idea. Until I reached a breaking point and I picked up a paintbrush for the first time in about 2 years. And like an emotional floodgate, this energy just came pouring out, and I kept going and going and going and going, and I almost have not stopped since. But in that time of feeling nothing, I had made myself an isolated system. I had removed myself so far from the reality of the things I was feeling. And the second law of thermodynamics is that in an isolated system, entropy can only ever increase. And so while I found this new way to transfer this energy, to put it to a productive place, I was not remaining aware of the emotional transactions that I was consistently making to create work. And I was ignoring the fact that transferring energy between creator and creation goes both ways. And I kept going disconnected from what I was feeling, but still trying to portray it in a way I could understand, until one day there was no energy left, and I had nothing left to make. And all I had to show for it was these works that were spewing this emotional floodgate back onto me, in a language that I still could not understand. And looking at them, I was just recycling this same energy of traumas that were now almost a decade old. And for all my efforts, I was still feeling nothing, and I had fooled myself into thinking that I was creating something from nothing, ignoring where my ideas were coming And once I made this realization, I learned that rather than transfer our energy as artists, we have to learn to transform it. Take our ideas out of the abstract and redistribute them in a way that we can understand, but more importantly, in a way that we can share. Learning to become comfortable with sharing my work with others was the most important thing, because it was the final missing piece in this puzzle of entropy that I was stuck in. I always say that when I display my works, they no longer belong to just me. A small part of them belongs to every person who sees them, because they have not known the journey I've gone on to get where I am. They haven't seen where I've drawn inspiration, but they still connect with it, and they have their own energy attached to it. And when you display something like that, it can disguise itself as an act of creation from nothing. And for the viewer, that's what it is, and I have no place to interrupt that. And so when people ask me now where my ideas come from, I try not to answer in a concrete way. My art is an expression of me, and I am a self-fulfilling prophecy of it. Chicken or egg, who knows where it's going, but the important thing is how the viewer perceives it and what energy transfers to them. Because it is only then that I truly feel I've fulfilled this purpose and given the energy its productive course. If I can give that to someone and they take that and use it in their life to transfer somewhere else and continue the cycle. And at the end of the day, I guess that is really what creation means to me. It's not something from nothing. It's an endless cycle that we are all included in, of energy transferring from state to state to state until finally it finds an equilibrium.